Hi, this is Tim Von Rieden with cgcookie.com, and in this video tutorial, I'm going to take you through how I go about drawing blood, bruises, and cuts. I have a practice head which I will provide in the source files to work upon from, and in this I will go through using the multiply and overlay layers effectively to produce a realistic looking effect. Okay, let's get started. In Photoshop, I have opened a file that I was working on a few weeks ago, and it's just a practice head. And I'm going to take this and pretty much do my bruises and cuts right upon it. So I'm not really working on showing you how to draw skin, but rather the bruises and cuts and blood that goes on top of it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a new layer. I'm going to go ahead and give her a couple cuts. I figured she's going to be like a soldier or warrior of some kind. So she's in a lot of battles. So I'm going to go ahead and scratch up her face right here. Now, when people draw like cuts and bruises, I usually see them draw or grab like a really bright red, and it's like somewhere around here. But really, this isn't that realistic unless if it's a very minor light scratch, like something like that. But for something that's deeper, we want to go for a darker red, almost black, something around here. So I'll keep these colors on the side. I'll do a little palette. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw a couple cuts in her face. So I'm just keeping in mind how deep I want these cuts to be, but I'm definitely opening them up a little bit. So it's almost like a scratch, as if it was from an animal or something. Where in the middle, it's a little deeper and wider than where it fades out near the ends. And in the middle, I'm just going to go ahead and push all the way down on my tablet pen to give it this nice full dark color. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead on a new layer. I'm just going to create a lot of layers for this to show the difference. In the end, I'm just going to go layer by layer, show on and off. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my skin brush, which I will also provide in the source files, which is this one. And I'm going to set this layer to multiply. And first, I'm going to grab the skin color using Alt, that's around the cut, and I'm doing that to kind of blend it in a little bit more. So I'm lightly touching upon right where the scar is. So now if I turn that layer on and off, you can kind of see how, if I zoom out, it blends in a little better. It doesn't look like two strokes that were just put upon the face. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and then grab the red in the center of the cut. And I'm just going to push it down a little outside of the scar to show some bleeding inside the skin tissue, in case that this cut was that deep and some of the blood remained inside the surface. So for the smaller one, I'm going to keep it kind of a clean cut, but then for this larger cut, I'm going to kind of demonstrate how I would draw it, looking a little bit more drastic. Okay, so now on my next layer, I'm going to use an overlay layer. I'm going to do this to make it feel more vibrant and more bloody, I guess, if you want to say it. So instead of grabbing this darker red, I'm going to go ahead and grab a very solid, lush red. So first I'm going to put that on my palette over here, show you the difference between the two colors. Then back at my overlay layer, if I lay it right on top. Especially I'm going to lay it really heavy near the actual cut and then kind of fade out around the outside of it. Okay, so now on my next layer, I'm going to go ahead and use a very light skin color, even lighter than this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to edge out the cut a little bit to kind of make it feel like the skin has a little fold and that the cut actually goes on inside of the skin. So I'm using lighting information to kind of round it out a bit more and make it feel more deep. So if I zoom out, you can see if I turn that layer on and off, you can see how there's a sense of depth to the cut. Then I'm going to go ahead and then grab a white from my specular. Make my brush really small. And since blood is a liquid, it definitely has a reflective surface to it. So I'm not going to do too much on the inside of this cut since it's on the inside. I'm going to show it more when I'm doing a dripping blood coming out, but right now I'm just going to do very minor highlight touches on the inside of this wound. I'm going to switch my eraser tool for where I think it looks a little too heavy. And there we go. So I might turn the opacity down a little bit because it stood out a little bit too much to me. So there would be my cuts. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and start with my black eye. So I'm going to start right away with my skin brush, and I'm going to go back to that first layer, the one that had the first cut, and I'm going to grab that red, or no, first I'm going to grab that skin that's around it and lay it on in the multiply layer. So I'm kind of showing the difference, or like how deep black eye's color variation can go. So when I'm laying down the skin color, this is like a very minor black eye, or if it healed, and this is like the final look to it. You can see the more I lay it down, the more it's coming through, and the more it's showing up. I'm just doing light strokes. I'm just not pressing down too hard because I'm trying to make it blend very well. And for this, I'm using the skin brush. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab that first color, that dark red, and I'll lay it on. And every bruise is going to look different, and especially in the eye, you're going to get a lot of different colors, from red to a yellowish to even blue. But for this, I'm going to use more purples and reds with a hint of yellow. But if you just go to a search engine and type in bruises or black eye, those are good references for you to keep on the side and just look at them and see how those look and try to mimic that in your own piece. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab my purple, and I'm going to grab somewhere around here. I'm going to put that on my palette. But I'm still on my multiply layer when I'm laying this in. I'm just going to make it have that purple tone to it in some areas. I'm getting the upper lid as well. And if some of it went into the eye, I could definitely lay it into the eye a little bit, especially if I grab my red again. I can kind of push it down into the top parts of this eye to kind of show that this whole eye really took the impact of the damage. And now, on my overlay layer, I'm going to grab that red. I'm just going to push those colors out. You can see how they become a little bit more vibrant. And I'm also going to be grabbing a yellow to represent the discoloration that can happen with bruises. But instead of a really vibrant yellow, I'm going to go with a very toned down looking yellow, and I'm going to add that to my palette as well. And then back in my overlay, because even though that this color isn't as vibrant as a normal yellow, you can see if I lay it down, it comes in really vibrant still. That's what overlay does. So it's good to have a not so vibrant color so it doesn't stand out like crazy. I'm just going to push this around the area. And there we go. So now, this is where I go in with the whites that I was using. And I'm imagining that this eye has become a little puffed out. So I'm going to use my lighting and my whites to represent that. So I'm going to lay it on both the upper and lower lids. Especially on the lower one, I want to pay attention to where I'm laying this so that it works with the lighting information in this piece that I had before. Something like that. And I could zoom in even and really try to define those really specular areas right there, right in the center. And if I wanted to, I could grab one of my brushes that they look like dots, but then when you lay them in, it just creates like a random dotted area. And I can go ahead and lay it in to represent the pores that are around that specular area and that reflect that light back at you. Like that. Okay, so then that would be my black eye. So now if I go through each of the layers, I'll zoom in, and so original with just the cuts, the multiply layer with my reds and purples, the overlay layer with the red and yellow, and the specular layer to really make it rounded out and have more value to it. So the last thing I'm going to go through is a blood drip. So I'm going to go to my circle brush. I'm going to keep those settings on. I'm just going to have a little drip of blood coming out of this wound right here. So the way blood works is the more blood you have in an area, the darker it will be, but then the less blood you have, it'll be a lighter red. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that lighter red that I chose before, make it a little darker. I'm going to put that on my palette. So this will be my exposed blood color. So it is a liquid, so I'm just going to imagine that this is coming out of that wound and around the bottom of her chin. And the second trail that connected to the first. Okay. So then from here, I can go ahead and grab a darker red. So I'm just going to hold Alt and grab a darker red from the bruise that I have up there. Or I could grab it from the palette. And I'm going to make it darker where the blood's collecting near the bottom of the chin. So I'm imagining as if these two lines of blood came out of the scar, and not much has come out since, so it's just collecting and hardening or becoming dried near the bottom. So you can just see that transition from that lighter red to the darker red. On a new layer, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my skin layer, or my skin brush, And on a multiply layer, I'm going to blend it in. So just like I did with the scar, I'm going to grab the skin that's around it and just lay it right on that wound to kind of blend it in a little bit more with the underlaying skin. If I turn that layer on and off, you can see what it's doing. And then, like I've been doing with everything else, I'm going to add a specular to it with my white. I'm just going to go down that drip. If I zoom out, you can see if it looks like a little bit too much in some areas, I can take it out with my eraser, like that. And there we go. So if I can zoom back in. And those were the 3 layers that I used to create a blood drip. So the basic, which is the basic laydown of your reds. A multiply to blend it in a little bit more. And a specular to show that it has a reflective property to it. And I'm just going to pump up those whites a little bit. There we go. And same with that one. Okay. So there we go. That's my way of creating blood and bruises with cuts. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And in the source files, I will drop off this head PSD along with the skin brush that I was using in this tutorial. So thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something.